Dominican Republic. 80 degrees, a bit more temperate than we're used to as temperatures start to drop across the northern hemisphere. And when you take your peek at Group B, stakes are apparent. Juventus Daya must achieve 3 points to have any hope whatsoever of progressing in those top 2 spots in the group. Cibao, meanwhile, a perfect 6 points from an available 6. They can clinch a spot in the knockout stage once again if they achieve another 3 points here this evening. Well, the stakes, as we mentioned, apparent here. Juventus Daya still hunting its first victory in its first foray into the tournament, but competitive throughout the competition. I don't think the record does them justice at this stage. A pair of 1-goal defeats against the likes of Defence Force and Weymouth Wales last week, sandwiching a hard-fought draw against the defending competition winners in Cavalier that occurred in late August. The question is, can they pull off the upset of the tournament and give themselves renewed hope when it comes to their quest to progress? It will be a tall order against a Cibao squad that already has been to the final of this tournament. Now it is about taking the next step under Sheldor Sanvilus. They are domestically dominant, 5 consecutive domestic trophies in Dominican football, and now the question is whether or not they can achieve that triumph on the continental stage, falling to Cavalier on this very ground in a tightly contested 2-leg final back last fall. They have their eyes set on what could be a first ever Caribbean Cup title in their 4th consecutive Caribbean Championship appearance. We've already mentioned for Cibao the dominance that they've shown, and it's not just this year, it's in the past as well. The most Liga Dominicana titles in history in the Dominican Republic, with 4 straight entering this year, and then the Copa Dominicana title in the transition season as they get back on the normal footballing calendar throughout the Dominican Republic. Juventus Daya, the new kids on the block, their first ever taste of the continental stage, a side that earned their path into this competition by winning the Liga ASEAN earlier this year, finishing atop their group, toppling Violet in their championship group before winning on penalties in the final against Cayes in May. Question now is if they can translate that to some degree of success on the continental stage. Even if they win tonight, there are by no means no guarantees, but their hopes hinge on 3 points this evening. And also, it would be a pride thing to be able to achieve that monumental feat after doing so domestically earlier this year with the shootout victory over Cayes in June. Now it's about taking that next step and competing against the Caribbean's best. It is Juventus Daya and Cibao locking horns for the first time in this tournament's illustrious history. Cibao, the reigning runners-up, Juventus Daya, the new kids on the block, and we will have it for you in a matter of moments from Dominican Republic. Stick with us.
Damas y caballeros, tenemos de la bienvenida a Juventus Daya FC para el partido de esta noche de la Copa del Caribe de Concacaf.
welcome you back to Santiago in the Dominican Republic, where we are just about set for kickoff in this first ever contest between Cibao and Haitian side Juventus Daya. It is a Cibao squad that is the reigning runners-up. They take on the new kids on the block who are rounding out their Group B slate. They must win to have any chance of contending for a top 2 finish and progression to a first ever knockout stage. And now a look at the designated home side tonight under the head coach Ilas Jean. It is a 4-3-3 setup. Keep your eye on Onosan Durant, who scored the equalizer against Weymouth Wales on Thursday night. That an eventual 2-1 defeat. He's partnered by Sinvoka and Sylvain on the front 3, and then Peterson Seita, who scored one of the club's 2 goals in this competition through the first 3 matches, is behind them as the number 10. Reginald Gums, our lead official, Alejandro Sese and Angelo Doyle, his assistants. Ray Torres is the 4th official here this evening. Our captains, Mackenzie Claude, as well as Miguel Lloyd, exchange pleasantries in the center of the park. Juventus Daya, the designated home side tonight. Oddly enough, though, playing in the home stadium of Cibao, the Estadio Cibao. So you would figure it will be a crowd that is distinctly in support of the listed visitors, but they are really visitors in name only and nothing else here tonight. Lineup for those designated visitors and the Dominican Giants in Cibao is as follows. Another 4-3-3 setup. Rivaldo Correa is the danger man to watch. 21 goals a year ago in the Liga Dominicana slate. Has scored a brace in their last cup match against Weymouth Wales. He's partnered by Walter Acuna and Carlos Ventura. And Omar De La Cruz is always a threat as a marauding center mid in the heart of the park. Well, that sets the stage. Ilas Jean will have to lead his squad to their first ever victory in this tournament to have any hope of progressing. Takes on an experienced veteran in Sheldor Sanvilus, who has already guided his squad to the final of this illustrious competition a year ago, and is hoping to take things a step further. A win tonight ensures that they are once again in the knockouts for the 3rd time in the last 4 years in Caribbean Championship play. Stage is set. Juventus Daya and Cibao. And we await our referee signal to get things underway. Juventus Daya in the blue kits with the white stripes. Meanwhile, Cibao in their classic orange kits, La Bestia Naranja, hoping to make quick work of the newcomers and earn yet another ticket to the knockout stages. Cibao going from right to left on your screen. Juventus Daya from left to right. And it will be Rivaldo Correa and company to get us underway here at the Estadio Cibao in the Dominican Republic. It is, for all intents and purposes, David versus Goliath in the Concacaf Caribbean Cup, and it is underway from the Dominican Republic. Juventus Daya and Cibao for the first time in this competition. And the question is there a colossal upset on the cards? It is a Juventus Daya side that, as we mentioned off the top, has been extremely competitive throughout this tournament. Yes, they have suffered defeats in 2 of their previous 3 group matches, but looking at the numbers, just 1 goal defeats and earning a draw against the reigning champions. As this is flashed across by Lopez and finally stabbed away. There will be no pushovers, though. The designated hosts here this evening, they understand that their hopes hinge on 3 points here, and our headman Ilas Jean understands that. Jean Hilat is the man who has guided Juventus Daya to unprecedented heights. Last year, his first campaign at the helm in the Liga ASEAN, winning the competition for the first time in the club's history. This club has only been a fixture in the top tier of Haitian football since the 2020 season. They had bounced in and out of the top division, while Sheldor Sanvilus is no stranger to this stage. We've already mentioned the success he's achieved both at the domestic and international level, and is hoping to add more to his locker come evening's end. Modesta turns away from the trouble. This is Clemar Mosquera. It is a Cibao side that has not been shy about pulling talent from the lower leagues of Spanish football as well as South American football. They've brought in players with vast degrees of experience, be it in Spain or in the top two divisions of Colombian football, even Peruvian football represented. Juventus Daya is 100% filled with Haitian nationals. Squad that doesn't quite have the international pull of a Cibao side that is one of the region's best. Here's Muriel. Plenty of experience in Colombian football and beyond. Jean Carlos Lopez is upended. De la Cruz is hunting the run of Eduardín Reyes, who opened the scoring on Friday night in their league victory over Delfines del Este. Required late heroics for La Bestia Naranja to procure all of the spoils and move level atop the Liga Dominicana table with Salcedo. As you see this late challenge come in from Serafin. A little 14-on-14 carnage here. Well, there's your look at the goalkeeper for Juventus tonight. Emmanuel Victor, his third consecutive start in the Caribbean Cup after serving as an unused substitute behind Jeff de Francois in their tournament opener against Defense Force. Solid numbers so far. A pair of saves last time out on Thursday in the 2-1 defeat against Weymouth Wales. It is important to note, this is the only competition that Juventus Daya is focused on. The Haitian League has not gotten underway yet. They were on the spring-summer calendar and finished up that campaign in early June. League was supposed to start in mid-August, but has been postponed. So as a result, it's just friendlies and the Caribbean Cup that's on Solo's docket at the minute. Cibao obviously has to contend with the rigorous Liga Dominicana, hunting what would be a fifth consecutive Liga Dominicana trophy if all breaks right. This is Serafin, ranging forward from the heart of defense. Fede. Launches it ahead. This is Sinvilcat. Durant, the lone goal scorer last time out for Juventus Daya, and he wins them their first corner of the night. So first set piece for either side, and strangely enough, goes the host's way. Peterson Seida to take. One of two goal scorers for Juventus Daya in this competition so far. Drives it in without swing. And is knotted away rather comfortably. Now comes loose. Ventura just loses out of play. I've spoken about the vast disparities in experience, both domestically and internationally. A lot of these players for Juventus Daya, long-term participants in the Liga Haitienne, which is the Haitian top flight. Some of which have joined rather recently. Cibao, we've already mentioned the vast reach this club has to bring in prospects from not just inside the Dominican Republic and inside the Liga Dominicana, but also beyond. Internationally, the connections there allows them to build one of the top squads in the region. As this is lofted forward and stabbed away with relative confidence. Nelson Vilcat. Elistan. Flashed wide. This is Bedgley Charles. He's not shy about getting forward. Elistan. Vilcat. With runners in behind as well. Can't quite pick out Seda and company. And a late challenge draws our referee's ire. A yellow card already shown to the star number 10 for Juventus Daya. See Peterson Seda just clips his man at the heels. It is a challenge that stymies a counter, and I believe he does know what he's doing. So something to watch. One of the creative talisman for Solo is walking the tightrope for the remainder of this contest. Well, for Cibao, obviously they do have to contend with multiple fronts, domestic and internationally, as you see Correa bundled over there. But doing so quite well. Already spoken about how they're level on points with Salcedo atop the Liga Dominicana table at the moment. Well in position to qualify for yet another Liguilla if all breaks right. But also on the international stage, a perfect 6 points from 6, and while they did experience a wobble prior to the international break in their surprisingly hard-fought victory over Weymouth Wales, they did win that match in Barbados and are in the prime position to advance. It takes just 3 points to ensure another ticket to the semis. Correa nearly flicks this on. Comes all the way loose, and Mosquera unable to catch up to it. Ventura, 28-year-old dynamo on the left flank. Modesta. 10 minutes gone, still nothing to separate these two sides. First ever meeting between the two clubs, although Cibao rather experienced playing against Haitian sides. 6 unbeaten against sides from Haiti in the Caribbean Cup and its predecessor, the Caribbean Club Championship. And that includes 3 wins against Haitian sides in last year's run to the final. Toppled Real Hope across both legs of the semis before falling to Cavalier in the final, but also won a match in the group stage against a Haitian giant. That was back when 2 Haitian sides qualified for the Caribbean Cup. Only the champions in Juventus Daya earned passage to continental competition this time around. Charles. Seydet. Fede. Loose pass there. It's picked up by Lopez. Ventura muscled off it. Right now, neither side able to calibrate a proper build in the final third just yet. It is a remarkably stacked group when you consider the odds that face Juventus Daya in their first ever Caribbean Cup appearance. Of course, Cavalier, defending Jamaican Premier League winners, giants of the region, and then Cibao, dominant in the Dominican Republic. Some would argue those are the two best sides in the entire competition, although Mount Pleasant may like a word in that conversation. As this arcing ball comes in and is collected comfortably by Miguel Lloyd. But also defense force, no slouches in Weymouth, Wales. So nothing to scoff at in this group in particular. Four of the five sides are domestic league champions in their most recent campaigns. This played forward, potential numbers for Cibao. Cross runs all the way through to Ventura. Lopez hooking it to the back post, and there's the opener. A lovely work goal, and Cibao on the score sheet first. It is Gabriel Peguero who opens the scoring and puts La Bestia Naranja in front. This is so well worked. Peguero's the late runner here. You see Giancarlos Lopez all the way through, and who else is there but Peguero? Delicious service and an even better finish. And there is no chance for Emmanuel Victor. And Juventus Daya has seen their hopes slip away at the moment. Gabriel Peguero, the native of the Dominican Republic, who joined the club ahead of the Copa Dominicana slate from league rivals Delfines del Este. Someone who's been a regular left-back starter for good chunks of the season. And he pops up with just a fourth career professional goal. And inside 15 minutes, Cibao leads 1-0. He's made nearly 100 Liga Dominicana apps since debuting in the top flight in 2021. Began his career with Atletico Pantoja before a stint with Delfines del Este. And is starting to carve out a more frequent role with La Bestia Naranja, the giants of the Liga Dominicana. Juventus Daya 0, Cibao 1. And you can't say it wasn't coming. Few forays forward for Solo just yet. And here is Peguero, the goal scorer. Well, for those just joining us, Cibao striking on 14 minutes. Gabriel Peguero whipping in a cross that ran all the way through and then timing his run brilliantly. A sensational ball from Giancarlos Lopez. And they unlock Juventus Daya in one fell swoop. Peguero again. This time can't field it properly. Correa. Lopez looking back through to the talisman up top. Just runs beyond him. And you get your first proper glance at Emmanuel Victor. goalkeeper who's been a key presence in Solo's squad since the 2020-21 season. Now growing into their first choice continental goalkeeper here. Few touches of the ball for Sinvelkat and his terrific attack midfield trio. Ronald Santorant, the lone striker in the 4-2-3-1, has had very few touches of it, left on an island for large spells, and that's a testament to how Cibao has overrun their opponents in midfield thus far, controlling every facet of the fixture. Some loose touch, and it's bailed out by the late challenge. Wilmen Modesta slow to return to his feet. Not the best ball, and then he takes the contact after the fact from Edison Elistan. This may at least draw our referee's attention. 29-year-old Modesta, a former Dominican international, is not necessarily stirring just yet. You see he links in the center of the park with Walter Cunha, a new introduction to the lineup in cup play. And now receiving attention from the physios. Modesta joining from Atletico Pantoja ahead of that 2024 season that ended with yet another Liga Dominicana triumph. That man, Sheldor Sanvilus, overseeing it. Took charge at the tail end of the 2024 regular season and guiding a club that could have easily fallen into turmoil to yet another domestic trophy. Now in his second taste of Caribbean Cup action, hoping to one-up himself from a year prior. The unique backstory of this fixture is both coaches, both managers, are Haitian. Sheldor Sanvilus, a native of Haiti who began coaching at 26 years of age, but has made a name for himself in Dominican football. And then, of course, Jean Hila, also from Haiti as well. So, a unique intersection between the two managers. Coupled with the odd scenario in which Juventus Daya is the technical host, but playing on Cibao's home ground. Lopez goes down in the area. Our referee waves away any appeals. And Seda is dragged down to the deck. In a wrestling match with Omar De La Cruz, and it's definitely a foul. Had him fully wrapped up. Sinvelkat goes down. Well, these are the scenarios where you'd fancy Solo to make an impact. Sinvelkat, a late challenge there, cut at the knees, and Mosquera pleading his case, but receiving a yellow card for his troubles. First man to be booked for Cibao, and it is one of their two center backs in Gleymar Mosquera. Sets up Juventus Daya with an appetizing spot for a set piece. They've already demonstrated some set piece success in this tournament. Batman providing the equalizer from a free kick in their lone point thus far at Cavalier. Stealing a result away from home against the defending winners of this competition. So Peterson Seda stands over it. What can he conjure from this distance? Vincent Durant, largely on an island thus far. This is a spot where he could force his fingerprints on it. Zayda goes for goal, and just over the bar. And at least drew the attention of Miguel Lloyd. Was always an audacious hit from that angle, but not necessarily a bad one from that distance. Now Durant, he goes down in the area. And once again, our referee making a decision. Get another look here. This would be harsh if given. Not a lot in that. And our referee, understandably, is waved away and he shouts for it. Well, for those just joining us, we welcome you into Estadio Cibao in Santiago in the Dominican Republic. A 1-0 advantage for the Giants Cibao over Juventus Daya, the reigning Haitian champions. Scored by Gabriel Piquero about 10 minutes ago after a sensational cross from Jean-Carlos Lopez, who tries to recapture that feat. It was not a bad break by any means. Rather routine, though, for Victor at the end. Charles. Zayda. And now there are numbers forward for Juventus Daya. This is Sinvilca. Cut out. And one back by De La Cruz, who cleans up the mess. He has to be reasonably content with the response, Sean Hila. Juventus Daya winning more free kicks of late and starting to show some semblances of threat on the counter. They'll have to weather the storm that Cibao thrust their direction for the remainder of this first half. They can get into halftime within a goal, regardless of whether or not they can get on the score sheet themselves. I don't think they'll feel like it's a catastrophic scenario, although, as we've already mentioned, they must win tonight to keep their rapidly dwindling semifinal hopes alive. This may not help matters. One back upfield. Correa looking for the return ball. And Acuna loses out. That is very well done by Serafin. Charles. On this very ground last year for Cibao, it ended in heartbreak in December's Caribbean Cup final, second leg. Lost the first leg, did take a lead in the second leg, which gave them real hope that maybe they'd go on and win it. But conceded late and wound up falling across the two legs in heartbreaking fashion in last year's Caribbean Cup final. Final aggregate scoreline was 4-2, was even at 2-2. The away goals favoring Cavalier in the end. As you see, Lopez batters into Sinvilca, who's started to make a menace of himself around the midway point of this first half. Appears to be Eliston and Zayda standing over this free kick. Probably too far to think about a direct hit towards goal, though. And it's right into the wall. Fede. This is Sylvain. His first true touch of it. Fede's cross to the back post, headed by Sinvilca, but right at Miguel Lloyd, the former longtime Dominican #1. This is their best spell of interplay, though. Cross whips well beyond the reach of any Cibao defender. Sinvilca there to greet it. Just needed to put a little more ferocity on that header to take it beyond Lloyd. There are signs of life, though, for Solo. Sometimes when you're an underdog and previous fixtures haven't gone your way, conceding first can lead to the floodgates opening, but that has not been the case with Juventus this tournament. Just 4 goals allowed through their first 3 group matches and have shown resilience to overcome early deficits against Cavalier and Weymouth Wales in 2 of their first 3 fixtures. This is not a squad that will roll over. Piqueto has a pop. That's taken wide. Well, he's been excellent so far from right back. That was not contacted cleanly on the half volley, but his initiative going forward has been the highlight of Cibao's first half. Durant there, undercut by Muriel. Well, we inch closer to half an hour. Juventus Daya starting to take control of possession, hoping to manufacture a way back into this. As of now, Gabriel Piqueto's 14th minute strike separates the 2 sides. There may be more carnage beckoning, though. They can't thread it through to Correa. That's been the story of Cibao's counters of late. For a side that has been on the front foot for the bulk of the match, have not seen their true #9 Correa get involved. I've already mentioned the 21 goals he scored a season ago in the Liga Dominicana. Durant puts this beyond the reach of Sylvain. And there is a Juventus player down. And this is a concerning sight. It appears to be Jacques-Elciel Serafin, who's been the most forward-thinking of the center backs thus far for Solo. And if this prompts an alteration, it definitely would not be an ideal set of scenarios for Jean Hilat. I think they'll feel their performance has been controlled, not necessarily dominant. But Cibao, certainly good value for the 1-0 lead they boast. I think they'd feel there's another gear they can hit, though. And that was the story against Weymouth Wales in their last cup tie. Came before the international break, jumped in front, 2-0 inside 17 minutes. Rivaldo Correa providing a brace in it. But then they were unable to kill the matchup, and despite a late red card, Weymouth Wales was able to claw a goal back just around 10 minutes from full time, and it led to some late drama, including a near equalizer in the dying embers of that one. It was Far from the clean performance Sheldor Sanvilus would have hoped for, seeing his side go into halftime 2-0 up. All in all, though, results have been indisputable. 7 wins in the last 8 across all comps. Only 1 league defeat thus far as well. In that span, I should say. That came against OEM on August 30th. Lopez. Acuna looking for Correa. Sinvilca. Sylvain. Fede. Was there late drama before intermission? Inch towards the business end of this first half. Aside from Peguero's well-taken opener on 14 minutes, there's been rather little to write home about chance-wise. Miguel Lloyd and Emmanuel Victor, mere spectators otherwise. One free header from Getsin-Voka at least drew Lloyd's attention, but otherwise, Juventus Daya having trouble creating clear-cut opportunities. Here's Correa. And he loses the foot race with Serafin, who's back on the pitch. Durant. He's fouled by the combination of Modesta and Muriel. Trying to untangle himself. Just clipped at the heels by Modesta. Sylvain. Fede. Lopez overzealous in his attempts to win it back. Well, he wraps up Seda. No real debate in this. He'd be fortunate to get off without more severe punishment. Sylvain drives it low. Durant got a touch in the area and shrugged off it before he can cause any damage. That's a layer of directness we have not truly seen prior to that point from Juventus. Acuna. Referee waves play on. Durant looking for Sinvilca. Mosquera cleans up the danger. I think the biggest thing for him will be emphasizing to his side to not drop their levels, especially if this goes in at halftime 1-0 up. I've already spoken about the slight letdown against Weymouth Wales, but in their tournament opener against Cavalier, they were the better side wire to wire. Goals on either side of halftime, and never truly looking back after backing the dagger in the 73rd. They also led for large spells at the weekend against Delfines del Este and were pegged back inside the final 10 minutes before Angel Araujo's late winner in stoppage time. So maintaining the advantage they have should be the name of the game at this stage, and maybe compounding it would be more ideal than not. Claude, the captain, and now ushered wide to Charles. Peguero there to intervene, as he has been all night. They try to break quickly. Charles does win the foot race, and he's arguing that that lead leg of Peguero caught him on the higher end of the shin. Referee didn't see the same thing he did, evidently. And well, that was a bit too audacious. Well, there's your look at Miguel Lloyd, 42 years of age, in his 24th professional season. Someone who's played in the highest levels of Panamanian football, also bounced around Argentina and Trinidad and Tobago. He's a well-traveled participant between the sticks. Since rejoining Cibao, the undisputed #1, someone who's logged over 20 international clean sheets with the Dominican Republic. He was the top choice for the bulk of the 2010s decade before being displaced around the time of his return to the Liga Dominicana. When you look at his numbers, though, especially since rejoining the club, 68 clean sheets in 146 appearances. Now it's 147th tonight. Has played an integral role in every championship in Cibao's domestic 5P. You see here, that's an aggressive tackle, and it's not one our referee was fond of. Modesta. Lopez heads it along. Nodded back to Correa, who has a hit, and he did not miss by much. That acrobatic on the half volley from Rivaldo Correa, who is a goal-scoring machine. And nearly drew Victor out from long range. Vedette. We inch towards 40 minutes, and as things stand, Cibao still won to the good, courtesy of Gabriel Peguero. His strike in the 14th minute, after Jean Carlos Lopez's ball unlocked the entire Juventus Daya defense, is what makes the difference. But since then, few clear-cut chances for either side. Juventus Daya has shown life when they're able to break with numbers. It just takes one set piece, one moment, for them to completely throw a spanner in the works. Here's the effort from Correa. Contacted it sweetly, but hooked it a touch far wide. It's definitely one for the cameras, that. Lopez, Peguero, he is offside. Well off. Maybe that's the one criticism of his first half. Timing his runs a bit better. Otherwise, he's been the all-action right back that Cibao has craved of late. Overlapping Acuna well, providing that support and width, and still getting back to put in a quality defensive shift. De La Cruz, now Lopez, the 31-year-old, sliding it through towards Ventura. Snatch back again. Correa, he is onside, and he makes it 2. A terrific finish from a tight angle, and Cibao doubles their advantage. Three goals in as many matches in the competition for Rivaldo Correa. A brace last time out against Weymouth Wales, and this sensational tight angle finish here tonight against Juventus Daya. It's one back upfield, well-weighted ball. It does take Correa wide, and this is a finish of the highest degree. Victor does well to close down the angle, but there is quite literally nothing they can do about that. Cibao 2, Juventus Daya 0. And the group leaders are well on their way to yet another Caribbean Cup semifinal. Well, we have lamented how they hadn't capitalized on their early opener and generated a high-profile chance of note. That was the chance they needed, and it was converted devastatingly by their number 9, the 26-year-old out of Colombia, who joined from the Peruvian second tier ahead of the 2024 Liga Dominicana season and stormed onto the scene, winning the Golden Boot with 21 goals in that season, and then backing it up with 9 goals in the Copa Dominicana this spring during the transition campaign as the Dominican Republic got back on a normal footballing calendar. Back in the day, a Colombian U20 international as well, so brings elite pedigree, and he has translated that to elite production in the Dominican Republic with Cibao. And if Juventus Daya is to revitalize its very, very slim knockout stage hopes, they would need to turn it around in very quick fashion. They must win to have any hope of reaching the semis. Anything less is insufficient. De La Cruz is down and gripping his leg. Late challenge comes in from Durant. There appears to be some concern around the knee area, which is by no means a pleasant situation for anyone involved. Omar De La Cruz, the 24-year-old, who has been a fixture in the lineup this year for Cibao, is still being tended to by the physios. A key center midfielder that has helped control the game alongside Jean Carlos Lopez. Those two, the more forward-thinking of the midfield trio. De La Cruz at least appears content to try and walk this off. Four minutes of stoppage time separate us from intermission. Goals from Gabriel Peguero and Rivaldo Correa have Cibao 2 to the good shortly before halftime. And good value for the lead that they possess at the moment. A side that has flashed that devastating cutting edge in the final third required to jump out in front and then provide insurance. Sinvilka. Knocked wide. Seita. He loses his footing. Referee says the ball was won cleanly. Lopez. Correa gives chase and just evades him. Positive sight. De La Cruz back on the pitch and appears ready to keep things moving. Souvent. Fede. Souvent again, with some room to roam now. The pass towards Durant is off the mark. This is Acuna for Cibao. Bashing it forward. De La Cruz giving chase, and he does win the foot race. A late intervention from Serafin puts it out for a corner. I think he'll go into halftime a lot more comfortable. Childor sont Vilus. They flash the killer instinct required. And they look the far more comfortable of the two sides at the moment. Juventus Daya with no real way out of their halves since the second goal flew in. It's taken within swing. To the back stick. Ventura. Arcing ball in. It's punched away by Victor. And soon Volcan can't keep this in play. As things stand, Juventus Daya would go out and finish bottom of the group. This is, of course, the final of their 4 group fixtures. They're a match ahead of everyone else at the minute. One final set piece before we reach halftime. And it is a chance for Jean-Carlos Lopez, or maybe one of his teammates, to trouble Emmanuel Victor from long range. Acuna and Lopez in the immediate vicinity. This likely the final kick of the first half. Lopez goes for goal and clatters it off the wall. Cleared only as far as Acuna, though. And there's the halftime whistle. Well, there is a man down, actually, so false alarm there. It is Serafin, who's appears slow to get up. So we will wait on halftime. We get another look here. It's actually Claude who goes down. Serafin's perfectly okay. The captain, Mackenzie Claude, 30 years of age, who's been a fixture with Juventus Daya for quite some time now. His 3rd start in group play in the Caribbean Cup. One of the longer tenured players in this solo squad. Donning the captain's armband for good reason. Now the question is, will he be able to continue into the second half and beyond? Heavy contact right to the midsection. And there is the halftime whistle. No false alarms this time. At intermission, Cibao in control. A 2-0 advantage with goals from Gabriel Peguero and Rivaldo Correa making the difference. Juventus Daya had moments in spurts, but since around the 35-minute mark, they've had rather little to write home about going forward. Cibao, good value for the lead they possess, in line to claim a second consecutive semifinal berth in the Concacaf Caribbean Cup. We'll step aside when we return, a look back at an eventful first half from the Dominican Republic. We welcome you back to Santiago, where we get a look back at our first half highlights in this key Group B fixture between Juventus Daya and Cibao in the Caribbean Cup. Fast start for Juventus Daya, understanding they need to win to have any hope of progressing to knockout stages and still hunting that elusive first ever victory in Caribbean Cup play. But ultimately, it was Cibao that got on the score sheet first. This rapid break, you see it played back to Jean Carlos Lopez, and what a ball this is to unlock the Juventus Daya back line, and Gabriel Peguero is there to greet it to make it 1-0 on the volley. A lovely hit, just dives in, places it perfectly into the bottom left. That is one of the team goals of the tournament to date in the group stage. And then both sides would trade half chances. This a huge finish from Peguero, who just ventures forward from right back. The more you watch it, the more appealing it looks visually. And it is a huge moment for Cibao, which with that goal knew they'd be on their way to qualify for yet another knockout stage. And from there, further and further chances for the designated visitors tonight. Giancarlos Lopez was deep in his bag when it came to picking out these long balls. That a delicious delivery that just wound up in Victor's gloves. There was this half chance for Sinvilca, which he headed into the dirt and ultimately made it rather routine for Miguel Lloyd, who had few troubles with this. And after that, less to write home about for Juventus Daya throughout the tail end of the first half. A lot of quick breaks forward for Cibao, playing more direct, understanding that their hosts technically would be stretched. This is a half volley effort from Puguero, which sailed wide. There was this long-range hit from Seido, which went well over the bar. And then at the tail end of the first, Rivaldo Correa began to grow further and further into the match. You see him pick it up and hit that on the volley, and then the second goal. This ball threaded through a tight angle, but Correa manages to sneak it in at the near post. It's a costly giveaway for Solo, and they pay the price for it. Well-weighted ball. It does force Correa to finish from a very tight angle, but that he does with aplomb, and he adds a third of the tournament for Cibao. And that is where we left things at halftime. A 2-0 advantage for La Bestia Naranja over the underdogs Juventus Daya, and good value for that 2-0 lead as you get a look at the halftime stats. A distinct possessional edge for Cibao, as well as edges in shots and shots on goal. Pretty much every major statistical advantage seesaws in their direction. The only area where things are maybe level are corners and fouls as well. But the key stats that matter, including the biggest one, the score sheet, all in favor of Cibao. At halftime, our scoreline reads Juventus Daya 0, Cibao 2, and we will take another breather when we return the second half from Santiago. We welcome you back to Santiago in the Dominican Republic, where we are just about set for second half kickoff between Cibao and Juventus Daya. The final group match for the latter side, the designated host tonight. They entered tonight knowing they needed to win to have any hope of progressing, albeit rather small hopes entering the night after achieving just 1 point through their opening 3 matches. But as things stand, in line to suffer a 3rd defeat in their 4 group matches and finish bottom of Group B in their first foray into continental competition. Meanwhile, Cibao, they are well on their way to qualifying for yet another semifinal. They would make it a perfect 9 points from 9. It would be impossible for a number of teams to catch them on that front. Technically speaking, there would be a backwards scenario in which the likes of Weymouth Wales and Defence Force could cause some trouble, but given that Weymouth Wales and Defence Force play each other on Thursday, those two would take one or both out of contention and ensure that 3 points for Cibao would qualify them for the knockouts. Wouldn't necessarily ensure their status as group winners, but it would also make life rather difficult for the hypothetical winner of Weymouth Wales and or Defence Force to unlock them from that spot. So for all intents and purposes, if they win, not only would they qualify for yet another semis, they would effectively do it as group winners. It would take a lot of backwards results behind the scenes and, of course, a loss on the final day for Cibao to even suggest that is possible. We are just about ready to get things back underway. It will be Juventus Daya going now from right to left on your screen. Cibao, La Bestia Naranja in their orange kits going from left to right. Before Cibao, this is the same scoreline they faced at halftime in their last cup match against Weymouth Wales. It did result in some late drama that I'm sure Sheldor Sanvilus was hoping to avoid. We'll see if this time around it is smoother sailing as they look to make it 9 points from 9 to begin Caribbean Cup play. We are back underway from the Estadio Cibao. Juventus Daya with significant amounts of work to do if it is to salvage anything, let alone their rather slim hopes of reaching the knockouts in the Caribbean Cup. Sylvain had few touches of it in the first half. Links up well with Seda here, though, and brought down just outside the area. Once again, our official Reginald Gums unmoved. Well, I'll tell you what, that one will be another interesting coming together to get a look at, because there certainly was contact. We'll see if it was legal or not. It does appear that De La Cruz got the ball first, but the follow-through certainly did. Contact Sylvain. A different official maybe rules that a foul, and then you're talking about whether or not the contact is in or outside the area. So maybe Cibao has dodged a bit of early complexity in this second half. No subs for either side, same 11s, and as this wears on, you wonder if especially Jean Hilat, the headman of Juventus Daya, starts to make some alterations. Here's Seida. Sinvilcat surging ahead. Looking to cut it across, and no one there in blue and white to greet it. But cleared only as far as Macintosh Vide. The goals in the first half scored by Gabriel Peguero in the 14th minute, and then Rivaldo Correa adding a second in the 42nd. Few defined chances outside of those two. Juventus Daya did have a nice half chance in which Sinvilcat headed the ball into the dirt, wound up being a relatively routine save from Miguel Lloyd. Otherwise, though, neither side able to test the opposing keeper significantly. Cibao, though, definitely the better of the opportunities and the far better of the possession in the first half. And now it's about control. A third would all but kill it off as well. Reyes has nearly snatched it back. Now he has. Some contact that does not cause our official any concern. It is important to note, no VAR in the group stages of this competition, although as you head into the knockouts, that does become a consideration. Reyes is slow to his feet. Durant back heels it. Stabbed out of trouble. And it appears Modesta is down yet again for Cibao. He's dealt with a fair number of physical ailments tonight, claiming he was elbowed in the face. It's unintentional. It's a slight shot from the closed fist of Bedgley Charles. Definitely did not appear to be his desire, though. It's a ferocious challenge. It's one that leaves Walter Acuna prone on the deck. Yellow card shown to Paul Delforce. Second solo man in the book. He drops the shoulder here. Cuts off the counter at the source. Not the best of tackles. Certainly worthy of a yellow given the circumstance. And when you look ahead for Cibao, scoring that second, more important than perhaps it seemed in the moment. Not just to kill the match off, which is obviously the initial implication, but it's a busy week for La Bestia Naranja. A top-of-table clash against Salcedo on Sunday, and then back in Caribbean Cup action to round out the group at Defense Force, so defending Trinidadian champions. Actually played on this ground. They're able to wrap it up quickly, though. Maybe you can rest some bodies for those two key fixtures, especially the one on Sunday that can determine who has clear possession of first place in the league table. As things currently stand, Salcedo and Cibao level atop the table on 15 points. Cibao is second, only on goal difference. It's a team that has flourished going forward, 17 goals across all competitions to open this year. Juventus Daya, just 2 goals in their first 3 Caribbean Cup matches. Not the only ongoing competitive action for them, with the Liga Haitian season being delayed. It was supposed to start in mid-August. So other than friendlies, this is the only way they're staying busy at the minute. And Liston. Sinvilcat turns past one defender. Fetes cross. Only as far as the Liston. Claude. And Correa running it out of danger. Grew into that first half considerably. Spent the first 20 minutes largely isolated. Then once the clock hit the half-hour mark, service began to improve and took a very difficult chance. Without breaking a sweat, finished from such an exceptionally tight angle to double the lead just before halftime, and has Cibao in cruise control now. They look through again, perhaps caught between two minds, trying to pick out Lopez or Ventura. It is a Cibao side that has never won this rendition of the Caribbean Cup. They have, however, won the CFU Club Championship, a predecessor competition to this one, in 2017. The first ever side to qualify for the Concacaf Champions Cup as a result of that triumph in 2018. Have participated now in 3 Concacaf Champions Cups, most recently falling in the first round to Chivas, but gave them quite the scare in the first leg earlier this year. Had a 1-0 lead for the lion's share of leg 1 on this very ground before they were caught at the death, and then ultimately eviscerated at the Estadio Akron. Punched well above their weight, though, across that 2-leg tie. It was not truly wrapped up until the second half of that second leg. Charles sprays it forward. Durant just left it dangling. It's not dealt with just yet, though. Sinvilca will win a free kick for Juventus Daya just outside the area. Just the dangling boot from Wilman Modesta. And this is an inviting spot for a free kick, no doubt. Something for Miguel Lloyd to monitor. Four in the vicinity for Juventus Daya. It is driven goalward and just wide from Jahasi Serafin. No real trouble for Miguel Lloyd in the end. As things stand, it would be a 4th victory for Cibao in 7 meetings against Haitian sides. They have never lost to a side from Haiti's top flight. We've already mentioned 3 wins in as many meetings a season ago in this tournament. Double change now for Juventus Daya. Maxi Bonbon, as well as Ferencem Lusso. Delforce is off for Bonbon. And then Lusso replacing what appears to be Sylvain. Saida. Charles's cross, and it deflects out for a corner. Fourth appearance for Lusso, has primarily featured in this tournament as a reserve winger at 20 years old. Played just 97 minutes through the first 3 fixtures in this competition, but gets some extended run as he hopes to make an impact and spur a potential comeback for Solo at the minute. Saida stands over this corner. Charged away at the near post, nobody there to meet it for Juventus. And you see the scoring summary on your screen. Peguero in the 14th, Correa in the 42nd. Those are the 2 difference-making moments as things stand for La Bestia Naranja, playing on their home pitch despite being designated visitors here. Durant lofting it ahead. Lusso giving chase. Reyes is there to bash it out of danger. Well, either way, even if this Caribbean Cup campaign finishes somewhat disappointingly with just 1 point through 4 matches, it is a colossal success in the grand scheme of things for Juventus Daya. As this cross comes in, not dealt with yet, and cleared sloppily for yet another corner. Bit of a mad dash around the near post. Now taken short, and this much more routine for Lloyd. Good cross here from Lussault. Nearly reached Sinvilcat, and then there's appeals for handball. Nothing truly apparent from that angle, though. Correa just lost his footing. Eliston, Seda. Lloyd can't prevent it for going behind, and yet another set piece for Solo. We inch towards the hour mark. Plenty of work to be done for Juventus Daya in their quest to get a result. This without swing. Falls for Bonbon. And rather clumsily navigates it right into the path of Ventura. Charles. Eliston loses out. And now Ventura will hold up and await reinforcements. Durant. De La Cruz. Shrugged off it by Sinvilcat. Bonbon. Seda. A better spell here from the Haitian champions. Eliston just beyond Sinvilcat's grasp. But as we were saying, even if this ends with just 1 point from 4 matches, when you think about where Juventus Daya was, even 5 years ago, as a newly promoted side in the Liga Haitienne, it is rather remarkable they are here, winning their first ever league title earlier this year, and doing so despite struggling to score on occasion with just 12 goals in 11 matches before the final. It was a Herculean achievement in a group with Violette as they qualified for that final, and then winning it at the first time of asking is something to write home about for the club and its supporters. It is a side that, through the early stages of its existence, bounced between the second tier and the top flight of Haitian football. It's only a club that's been around for about 19 years, as Sarafin is booked, and now both of the initial center backs on yellow cards. But either way, it has been a monumental year for Juventus Daya, and it is not one that a somewhat underwhelming Caribbean Cup campaign can put a true damper on, because I believe few of the supporters would have expected they'd be in this position a year ago, especially when you factor in how much they struggled in the 2024 Haitian top flight season. And it's just 2 points in 6 league matches, did not even come close to the championship round. Floated ahead, Ventura is onside, has Peguero with him. And and keeps it in play well. Arcing cross, nodded along, a chance, and it's 3. Walter Acuna wraps up 3 points, and Cibao in cruise control. Another very well-worked team goal, and the 33-year-old Acuna the beneficiary. You see Ventura the back heel. Paguero does so well to keep this in play. A delicious service that hooks into the path of Correa, who just heads it into the path of Acuna, and he dispatches so confidently. The flick on header, the touch off the chest, and no chance for Victor. Contacted so cleanly by the Argentine. Cibao 3, Juventus Daya 0. And they are well on their way to claiming yet another berth in the semifinals of the Caribbean Cup. Walter Acuna joining the club on July 31st after spending the bulk of his career bouncing around the lower leagues of Argentine football. Had logged a pair of assists through his first 9 appearances across all competitions. And on his first Caribbean Cup start, scores his first goal in Cibao colors. Someone who began his career at second-tier side Rosario Central at just 20 years of age in the 2012-13 season. He's featured for 9 different clubs since then, struggling to find a true home. But this is the key platform for him to revitalize his career in its twilight hours. And he has now opened his account for La Bestia Naranja to wrap things up in their penultimate group match of the Caribbean Cup. And here he is again. Sensational ball towards Correa. It is 4. And the question is, will it stand? It will not, it seems. The flag is up. Fantastic delivery. It does appear Correa is a couple steps beyond that last defender at the time the ball is played. Does not detract from what a sensational interchange that was. But for goal difference purposes, the scoreline reads Cibao 3, Juventus Daya 0 still. And at a certain point, you'd figure Sheldor Sanvilus will head into his subs bench and get some of his key starters off, namely Rivaldo Correa, who they likely will need for Sunday's tussle with Salcedo. If they looked shaky at Weymouth, Wales a couple weeks ago, it appears they've addressed those concerns since. Did fall against OEM, but back-to-back victories entering the night in league play and well on their way to a 3rd consecutive across all comps. A side that has only lost once since that season opening upset defeat against Mocha. And they have put themselves in contention for domestic and international glory at this stage. And they continue to press with reckless abandon. Acuna's fouled. And the restart played quickly. De La Cruz. Wrestled back by Serafin. Saida. Likely a yellow card coming for De La Cruz for that offense. And yes, it does. And this is precisely why Sheldor Sanvilus may want to start considering substitutions. De La Cruz is a key part of this midfield, and now on a yellow. And now he does head to his bench on cue. Angel Perez and Julian Gomez. Angel Perez, more colloquially known as Angel Araujo. Here's Modesta is one of the 2 to vacate. So there are the changes. Araujo and Gomez in, Acuna and Perez out. Interesting changes because both are somewhat forward-thinking players, and they've taken off their lone holding midfielder in Modesta. So maybe that suggests either Lopez or De La Cruz will drop deeper. Julian Gomez, native of Fairview, New Jersey, who signed his first professional contract after a year abroad in the lower leagues of Danish football. Played in college with Monmouth. Araujo is someone who's made his trade in Spanish football for quite some time before moving abroad here. Peguero, a menace all night. Sinvilcat committing the foul. And now Juventus Daya to the substitutes. Sinvilcat's night coming to a close. He had arguably the most promising opportunity, the free header that wound up being a routine save for Miguel Lloyd. He is replaced by Johnson St. Cyr. St. Cyr is in for Sinvilcat, as this is arced to the back stick. Correa gets his head to it and nods it right at Victor. May have been offside anyways. And he was, at the time of the header, well offside. The linesman did not hesitate either. Seda, we're inside the final 20 minutes. It appears this result all but sealed, barring a complete collapse by Cibao. Charles. Duran's header is right at Lloyd. St. Cyr, 34-year-old defender who has replaced Sinvilcat, who's more of a listed winger. Araujo can't pick out Correa on this occasion. It is the first appearance of the Caribbean Cup for St. Cyr. Durant was nearly through. Murillo cleans up the danger. Charles. St. Cyr. Well, for those that have just joined us, one-way traffic tonight. Cibao 3, Juventus Daya 0. Cibao effectively will qualify for the knockouts with all 3 points here this evening, and for all intents and purposes will likely do it as group winners. It would take a massive collapse for them not to do so. As you see here, Peguero dragged down by Fede. And it appears part of his jersey's ripped. Frustration on Juventus's touchline. Reality beginning to set in. Their continental foray is coming to an unfortunate conclusion. And now it's just about maintaining respectability on the scoreline. Most goals that Cibao has scored in a Caribbean Cup match this season to date. Jean Carlos Lopez is one of the two immediately nearby this free kick. He would be the primary candidate to play in an inviting ball. Drives it low, training ground routine. Ventura doesn't contact it cleanly. perhaps space to play out now. Zaida. Past Lopez, and the support from Paguero comes in the nick of time. When you look ahead, Juventus Daya will become the first side in Group B to round out its 4-match slate, as you get another look at this authoritative collection from Miguel Lloyd. Cibao would make it 9 points from an available 9, with 1 match to play against Defense Force on October 1st. That's on the final night of group play in the Caribbean Cup, a little over a week from today. Weymouth Wales and Defense Force both with 2 matches to play, although they play on Thursday. So one of those 2 sides will potentially take the other out of the immediate running if all breaks right. Cavalier, with already 3 matches in its back pocket, they will visit Weymouth Wales in a match that could determine who else progresses alongside Cibao. Long throw. Right at Victor. This is the decisive Cibao we've expected to see throughout the competition. They flashed it against Cavalier in the rematch of last year's final in a dominant 2-0 victory in which Cavalier had rather little going forward. They started quickly against Weymouth Wales before the wobble. And tonight, from kickoff to presumably the final whistle, in control for the lion's share of the contest. Zaida. Wide to Lusol. Lopez. And this is Ventura. Inside the final quarter of an hour of action here from Estadio Cibao. The Dominican Giants and potential tournament favorites, Cibao, in the driver's seat. A 3-0 advantage with 2 goals in the first half, and the potential final blow coming shortly after the restart. Walter Acuna. That's an interesting way to shield the ball. And it actually proves quite effective from Besley Charles. Somewhere, some defenders are studying that as a new way to win a free kick. Zaida. Not quite the influence he would have hoped to have on this match. Does have some room here, though. Lusol. That is not the cross he was hoping for. When you look ahead for Juventus Daya, likely a lot more friendlies and waiting on their domestic season to get truly underway. The defense of their title will be the primary concern now. There's another player down. It appears to be the captain, Mackenzie Claude. After the cross, may have felt something. He will try to walk this off. More changes for Cibao the other way. And at this point, it's about getting the starters up. Jean-Carlos Lopez, one of the two to vacate, as is Rivaldo Correa, who will exit to a deserved applause from his teammates and the supporters. Javier Roses to replace Correa up front. It is his second goal, which effectively wrapped things up for Cibao shortly before the break. So Roses for Correa. And it also appears Nicolas Cruz entered the action as well. And it is Cruz for Jean-Carlos Lopez. Well, opportunities for some of the lesser used players to have an impact here. Nico Cruz, 19 years old, joining from youth academies in Spain. Most recently played for DAM, their U19 side. His first appearance in the last 7 matches across all competitions. Roses, a slightly more frequent feature. His second Caribbean Cup appearance of the tournament. Inside the final 10 minutes, it all appears academic at this stage, especially as far as Juventus Daya is concerned. Substitute Bonbon is grappling with something. Chipped over the top. A potential chance for a fourth, and Roses is shoved off it at the 11th hour. Saint-Cyr. Lusso. And Juventus Daya add a goal for consolation. Just 2 goals throughout the tournament thus far, including that equalizer against Weymouth Wales last week on Thursday night. Both of them coming via some form of set piece. One off a direct free kick, another off a header. May have been a byproduct after a corner, excuse me. And Warlin Reyes. Clipped by Bonbon. Slid through towards Araujo. The most successful side in the Dominican Republic and one of the most successful sides in the Caribbean is living up to its moniker tonight. Their reputation speaks for itself and has been backed up on the pitch, no doubt. Long range hit, well over the bar from Salcir. It is an interesting backstory in the Dominican League. Did not begin as a professional outfit until 2015, so a bevy of clubs were actually created around the time that the Liga Dominicana was officially announced. There are clubs with histories that extend well before the inception of the Liga Dominicana. OEMA is a key example, a club that's been around for north of 50 years, but La Bestia Naranja, created on January 1st, 2015, announced just ahead of the creation of the Liga Dominicana. And it is fantastic to see how rapid they've risen into perhaps the biggest brand in the division. Just playing on this lovely ground at Estadio Cibao, which can serve the role of a multi-purpose venue at times as well. It is one of the crown jewels of Dominican football, for certain. That's a late challenge on Peguero, and it's one that definitely attracts Reginald Gums' attention. Yellow card shown. And it appears to be Besley Charles. Definitely came in late here. And the ferocity with which he logged the challenge is what drew our referee's ire. Charles in the book. And this is at least a point of concern, because Gabriel Peguero has been one of the brighter performers, especially this evening for Cibao. And when you flash ahead to Sunday, that top-of-table clash against Salcedo, it's definitely a fixture where they like to have his services. Three teams level on 15 points. That's the Dominican top flight, Salcedo and Cibao, and then Atletico Pantoja. Of course, the top six qualify for the Liguilla phase. And then in the Liguilla phase, the top four from there reach the semifinals, which is done across two legs. It's the first time we've had a proper, full Liga Dominicana season since the spring of 2024. The Copa Dominicana was meant to reset the Dominican football calendar to better align with the rest of international football. It tends to be a trend that a lot of leagues are considering at the minute. The United States, no different. There's been a lot of chatter about the MLS and potentially altering their calendar. Well, I think the weather's a little more temperate in January in the Dominican Republic. Peguero. Araujo keeps this in play. Final 2 minutes of the initial 90. Cibao has played the last half hour, the better part of it, with significant comfort, knowing the result was effectively sealed following Walter Acuña's finish in the 63rd. Maybe hunting more carnage, though, and Araujo can't take it down out of the sky. Lusso. Durant. Aliston. And here is Charles. Cross cut out at the source by Ventura. Araujo for Cibao as they look to polish it off in style. Cruz, the 19-year-old, driving forward. The effort rather tame, all things considered. One more change for Sheldor Sanvilus as he puts a final bow on things. Carlos Ventura, after a strong 90 minutes, he exits. He is replaced by the youngster, Abraham Mejia. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Jean Hila counters with the introduction of Dari Toussaint. Toussaint, he replaces Seda, who maybe coped with a difficult night by his lofty standards. Able to get on it rather infrequently. So Toussaint for Seda, as well as Mejia replacing Carlos Ventura. Cruz threads it through. Araujo drags it well wide. Does stay in play, though. Gomez has won a corner, it seems, to the chagrin of the substitute Bonbon. Well, Abraham Mejia, 19 years old, part of the Cibao reserve ranks since joining from Santa Fe FC last winter. And they do just call it a free kick in favor of Juventus Daya, as it's 3 minutes of additional time that separates us from full time here at the Estadio Cibao. Cibao will go comfortably atop of the group, 5 points clear as things stand, and wrap up a berth in the Caribbean Cup knockout stages once again. When you look at the math, 2 teams on 3 points with 2 matches to go, but they play one another, so that rules out both of them catching Cibao. Weymouth Wales and Defence Force tussling on Thursday night to determine who has a potential inside pathway on what should be the second knockout stage spot out of Group B, because it would take a major meltdown for Cibao to not finish atop the group at this stage. Lusso is fouled. And this is the final minute of the added 3. Juventus Daya will suffer through a 3rd defeat in 4 group matches and finish bottom of Group B in their first foray into the continental sphere. Toussaint. Charles had his head turned. The question is, time for one final foray forward. There may just be. Gomez out wide to Mejia. A lovely cross just over the head of Eduardo Reyes, and that might be the final sojourn into the final third, and that it is. Full-time whistle sounds here at the Estadio Cibao, where the Dominican Giants Cibao dominate Juventus Daya and move comfortably atop Group B. 9 points from an available 9 for the reigning runners-up. Juventus Daya, meanwhile, they finish their 4-match group slate with just 1 point through 4 games. Cibao qualifying for yet another Caribbean Cup semifinal, and they are comfortably on their way as they look to take that next step and secure Caribbean glory once again. We will take a quick breather here. When we return, we will get a look back at our full-time highlights from Santiago.
Edison Elistin, impresiones después del partido.
Edison, como impressionnant après match ça.
Bon, c'est avec un peu de fierté, comme si on fait tout effort de faire pour nous sauver l'honneur, mais ça va arriver fait, le travail n'a pas fini. Et je félicite l'organisation qui a organisé le tournoi ça, pour toujours continuer à faire le même travail.
Hemos hecho todo para salir adelante, hemos hecho todo para salir con la victoria, pero no se pudo. Vamos a seguir trabajando, vamos a seguir. Felicitamos a la organización del torneo, vamos a seguir para volver en el torneo.
¿Algún mensaje para la afición?
Ou gen un message pour fanatique qui fait déplacement.
Bon, je dis tout fanatique, ils étaient fermes, ils étaient soudés. C'est pas la fin du monde. Gain ça, et 3 résultats de gagner. C'est gain, perdant ou bien pour sauver ou nul. Quand même, nous arrivons à perdre le match, mais il va s'en développer dans la compétition.
No es lo que buscamos, hay 3 resultados. O perdemos, ganamos o un empate. Hemos hecho todo, vamos a seguir, quedamos atentos, todo.
Merci, Edison.
Okay, merci.
Walter Acuña, felicidades por el triunfo, eres el jugador del partido. ¿Cuáles son tus impresiones luego de esta victoria que los pone ya en la siguiente ronda de la competencia?
Bueno, primero buenas noches, gracias por elegirme el jugador del partido. No, la verdad que contento, feliz, porque es un grupo que viene laburando bien y bueno, hoy pudimos asentar lo que queríamos, estar en semifinales y bueno, la verdad que un gran esfuerzo de todos los chicos y estamos contentos.
Era un rival difícil porque venía sin presión, ya ellos no buscaban nada más que tratar de un triunfo para no irse de mala manera. ¿Dónde estuvo la clave para ganar el partido hoy?
No, obvio, como decís vos, nosotros lo sabíamos, que ellos ya estaban prácticamente afuera y el laburo lo íbamos a tener que hacer nosotros, pese a que éramos visitantes, pero sabemos que es nuestra cancha. Así que yo creo que el secreto estuvo en la paciencia que tuvimos, el no desesperarnos, porque sabíamos que ellos, como dijiste recién, no se jugaban nada. Y bueno, yo creo que hicimos el gol con paciencia y después, bueno, creo que se vio la diferencia del equipo.
Primer gol y en Copa, ¿es especial?
Sí, obvio, siempre un gol en Copa Internacional es muy especial para cualquier jugador. Así que feliz, pero bueno, agradecido a los chicos porque sin el esfuerzo de ellos no podría haber hecho el gol.
Muchas felicidades.
Gracias a vos, dejamos mandar un saludo a mi novia que está acá, que me está haciendo el aguante, que venimos de Argentina. Así que un saludo para Maylén.
Walter Acuña.
yo a usted yo le traigo reserva. Es para que a mí me moleste.
We welcome you back to Estadio Cibao, where it's time for our look back at the 90 minutes that just transpired here in the Dominican Republic. Cibao and Juventus Daya locking horns in this Group B tussle. Cibao knowing that 3 points would ensure safe passage to the knockouts, and they got off to a flying start. In the 14th minute, Gabriel Peguero finishing after this terrific delivery for Jean-Carlos Lopez that unlocked the Juventus Daya back line. And from there, the designated hosts never truly recovered. This is such a terrific ball, especially from that angle, to be able to see the whip and positioning of it. And then the acrobatic finish by the 28-year-old Peguero to tack on to things. There were opportunities the other way for Juventus Daya. This a decent cross into the path of Sinvoca, but he heads it into the dirt and right at Miguel Lloyd. And then as we headed deeper into the first half, it became all Cibao. Peguero on the half volley here just saw it knuckle the wrong direction, but he was a menace on both ends of the pitch the entire night. Going forward, he was arguably Cibao's best, most productive player. Meanwhile, Juventus Daya did try to keep them honest the other way, but ultimately Cibao started to grab the match comfortably by the scruff of the neck around the 30-minute mark and never looked back. And then they were able to double things in the 42nd minute. This tight angle finish from Rivaldo Correa, who's just able to nestle it inside the near post from a very, very tight position along the touchline. Wound up tickling the far side netting, and from there, cruise control for Cibao. They went into halftime 2-0 up, and they would add a third shortly after the restart. As you see this quick break from Ventura, the back heel that found its way to Peguero, who delivered a terrific ball, and then the flick-on header from Rivaldo Correa is what does the job. Takes the defender out of it. A clear runway for Walter Acuna to finish things off on 63 minutes. And from there, Cibao was just able to comfortably navigate to a clean sheet to secure yet another 3 points in Caribbean Cup play. This arguably the most visually pleasing goal of the three. The quick flick-on header knocked down right in the path of Acuna. It is terrific interplay, which does the job. And then Cibao would continue to push the issue. Did have a goal disallowed for offside, and then chance after chance in the late stages. You see here Nicolas Cruz have a pop from long range. Rather tame in the end, didn't truly test Victor. And then Abraham Mejia whipping in this cross, nearly found the head of Eduardo Reyes before full time. Full time whistle sounded. It finished 3-0 in favor of Cibao. Juventus Daya's group stage came to an unfortunate conclusion. When you look at our full-time stats here from Santiago, it does tell the full story. Dominant in pretty much every facet. Yes, there was only a 2-shot edge for Cibao, but the shot quality far better, as you see with the shots on target numbers and the possession edge. While it came down a bit in the second half, still in favor of La Bestia Naranja in a comprehensive display to secure all 3 points atop of Group B. Well, for our terrific crew from Santiago, I'm Sam Goldfarb saying so long where it finishes. Juventus Daya 0, Cibao 3. Have a great rest of your night, everyone.